I made a comment last night when I played that my grandfather was an idiot. It's actually true. This is my father used to say this when he'd see my grandfather coming up the driveway, and it was something that we kind of cherished in our family. We'd always say, "Oh, here comes Gramps," and he was a proud man, and so it was kind of an inside joke between me, my mother, my father, and my brother, and then myself and my father, my brother, my mother, my father, and then eventually he found out about it. So I was like, "Thanks, this is what you think of me." He was this is where the Irish part of the family comes in. Danley, it's close enough, I guess. It was Americanized at some point. But he was a farmer. He was a conductor. At one point, he conducted Handel's Messiah. He got into real estate. He got into all kinds of strange things. I think it's one time he collected money from Mr. Car Wash, and I would go there when I was a kid, and get all the quarters and say, "Gosh, my grandfather, works for Mr. Car Wash. This is great." And when I was really young, I used to ride bikes in a ditch with the rest of the kids in the neighborhood, and this is what we did. This is what kids do in Montgomery. And we were proud of ditches, and we fantasized about owning ditches. Like, this is my ditch, and that's Bobby's ditch, and that's Dad's ditch, and that's Gardner's ditch. These are real names of people I knew. And one day we were playing in a ditch, and one of the kids said, "Well, my father's a doctor," and the other kid was like, "Well, my father's a judge, and my father's a lawyer." All this. He said, "What did your father do?" And I said, "Well, my father's a ditch digger." And they just looked at me and were like, "Oh, wow." His dad digs ditches, and this was, and I was, really popular for a couple of years. And the unfortunate thing is that the kids went home and told their mothers. They said, "Danley's father digs ditches." And they're like, "Okay, well, you really don't need to be playing with him anymore," and all this kind of stuff, trying to keep, and anyway, my grandfather, on the other hand, was extremely, extremely, extremely proud, and he used to drive a Ford Ranger. It's a 350 old green pickup truck, and in his farm, where he would never change his oil in his car. He never changed his tires. He would just peel out in the garden. And he grew up in Kansas in the 1800s. So in Kansas, they would build these big bonfires in the backyard. And he never quite got this out of his system. He continued this even when he lived in urban residential neighborhoods. So there'd be this huge bonfire, and you'd see the ashes and the flames going into the neighbor's yard, and burning down their trampoline, and the fire department would come, and my grandfather would just be sitting there, like nothing's wrong, absolutely nothing's wrong, and he would talk really loud on the phone because back in the 1700s or whenever, he'd get on the phone, and you had to talk really loud in Kansas or people couldn't hear you because it was those rotary phones, and you're like, "Hello." And so when he finally got a cordless phone, he was still doing that. He was talking very loud, so it sounded like somebody talking through the speaker like that. And then one day when he died, the R fell off of the truck, off of the thing that said Ranger, so now it said Ford Anger. And I never learned a whole lot useful from my grandfather. He taught me how to urinate in the garden in bamboo, and when I was a kid, and how to wipe with newspapers, which also took out of the Ford Anger, the back of the Ford Anger. And these were country skills. And then he had a farm. He had these mutant turnip greens and all kinds of cantaloupes and things growing. And he was trying to teach me business sense. And so he would collect all this stuff, put it in the back of his truck in Wetumpka, Alabama, and then drive it home to my parents and get me to sell it. And they said, "Well, we'll get John to put it in his wagon." So I'd carry this wagon around and peddle these vegetables to the neighbors. And all the neighbors felt really sorry for me. They're like, "Oh, what kind of rotten tomatoes have you got today, John?" And there's flies on them and stuff, and I've been carrying them for a couple of weeks walking down the road. And my mother, being Catholic, said, "You must suffer, constantly suffer, constantly suffer. Here's some more tomatoes." I never learned any business skills. I was talking to Rick Hoffman earlier, and I said I have no business acumen whatsoever. I didn't learn anything from that. It was just annoying, and I learned that cabbage smells like ass when you cook it. But he was Irish, and as the Irish do, they were good with their hands. So I found something I was good with my hands with. and wrote a tune for him. One of the things my grandfather would also do is hang out with these two guys named Gordon and Ramsay, who they would watch SEC football together and then go to Red Lobster and eat salted popcorn shrimp and smoke cigarettes and acted like this is a lot of fun. And so they would get together and just talk and talk and talk. So I wrote this piece. It's called "Mysterious Girl with the Green Shoes." It has absolutely nothing. The title has nothing to do with him whatsoever. But I came up with this intro, and I thought of my grandfather while I was playing it. And then in the middle of the piece, I'm thinking of this attractive woman with green, felt shoes. And I think she's Scottish.